Have you ever said something in anger that you regretted only minutes later? Have you ever let one harsh comment ruin your entire day? Or perhaps you've spent countless nights replaying the same conversation in your mind, wishing you had responded differently. If so, you're not alone. Most people believe they're thinking clearly when, in reality, they're simply obeying their emotions. They mistake every feeling for truth, every impulse for instinct, and every reaction for necessity. They assume that because they feel something strongly, they must act on it immediately. But the Stoics saw something different. More than 2,000 years ago, they discovered a truth that remains just as powerful today. The person who cannot govern their emotions will never truly govern their life. Think about it. How many opportunities have disappeared because someone couldn't control their temper? How many relationships have ended because pride spoke louder than wisdom? How many dreams have died because fear convinced someone to quit before they even began? Emotions themselves are not your enemy. They are a part of being human. The danger begins when emotions become your master instead of your servant. The Stoics compared the human mind to the captain of a ship navigating through violent seas. The waves represent emotions. The captain cannot stop the storm, but he can choose how to steer through it. A careless captain panics, loses control, and allows the waves to decide his destination. A wise captain remains calm, studies the conditions, and guides a ship safely toward its course. Your life is no different. Storms will come. People will insult you. Plans will fail. Loved ones will disappoint you. Unexpected losses will shake your confidence. These things cannot always be prevented. But how you respond, that is where your true power lies. Unfortunately, modern life encourages the exact opposite. We're told to express every emotion instantly, to react without thinking, to defend ourselves immediately, to post our frustrations online, to argue with strangers, to seek validation for every feeling. The result? Millions of people live as prisoners of emotions they never learn to understand. One moment they're confident. The next moment, a single criticism destroys their self-esteem. One day they're motivated. The next, a small setback convinces them they're failures. They aren't controlling their emotions. Their emotions are controlling them. Marcus Aurelius understood this better than almost anyone. Imagine carrying the weight of an entire empire on your shoulders. Every decision affected thousands, sometimes millions of lives. Wars threatened the borders. Political enemies surrounded him. Disease swept through cities. Betrayal existed within his own circle. Yet instead of allowing chaos to dictate his mind, Marcus reminded himself every morning that difficult people and difficult situations were inevitable. He didn't expect life to be easy. He expected himself to be stronger. That's a powerful difference. Most people spend their energy trying to control the world. The Stoics spent their energy learning to control themselves. And that's why they remained calm while others collapsed under pressure. Here's something worth thinking about. Imagine two people standing in the exact same rainstorm. One curses the weather, complains endlessly, and blames the sky. The other opens an umbrella and keeps walking. The storm is identical. The experience is completely different. Why? Because circumstances rarely determine peace. Perspective does. This is one of the greatest lessons Stoicism offers. Your suffering often begins not with the event itself, but with the story you tell yourself about the event. Someone ignores your message. Immediately, your mind creates a story. They must not respect me. They're angry. I've done something wrong. Hours later, you discover they simply forgot to reply. Nothing actually happened. Only your imagination did. How much of your anxiety has been built on stories that never came true? The Stoics constantly question these mental narratives. Whenever emotions surge, they pause and ask themselves a simple question. Is this reality or only my interpretation? That single pause can change an entire life. Because emotions move quickly. Wisdom moves deliberately. The gap between the two is where freedom exists. Unfortunately, very few people ever discover that freedom. Instead, they become addicted to emotional reactions. Anger feels powerful. Revenge feels satisfying. Self-pity feels comforting. Fear feels protective. But these emotions often promise something they cannot deliver. Anger promises justice, but leaves destruction. Fear promises safety but creates paralysis. Pride promises dignity but isolates you. Envy promises motivation but steals your happiness. The Stoics understood that emotions are persuasive speakers. They sound convincing. They speak loudly, but they are not always telling the truth. Consider anger. Have you noticed how anger always makes you feel certain? Certain that you're right. Certain the other person is wrong. Certain immediate action is necessary. Yet history is filled with people who destroyed friendships, careers, marriages, and even nations because they acted while angry. Seneca, one of Rome's greatest Stoic philosophers, described anger as temporary madness, not because anger is evil, but because anger temporarily steals your ability to reason. Think about your own experiences. How many decisions made in anger later required apologies? How many words spoken in frustration can never be taken back? A wound caused by a sword may heal. A wound caused by careless words often remains for years. That's why the Stoics valued silence. Not because they had nothing to say, because they knew timing matters. A calm response possesses a strength that shouting never achieves. Imagine standing before someone trying desperately to provoke you. They expect you to explode. They want your reaction. Your anger becomes their victory. But instead, you remain calm. You speak slowly. Or perhaps you simply walk away. In that moment, who truly hold the power? Certainly not the loudest person. The strongest person is the one who cannot be manipulated. That is emotional mastery, and it is becoming increasingly rare. Today's world profits from emotional instability. News headlines compete for outrage. Social media rewards impulsive reactions. Algorithms amplify conflict because conflict captures attention. People become addicted to constant stimulation. The quieter the mind becomes, the more uncomfortable it feels. Yet the Stoics believed silence wasn't empty. Silence was where clarity lived. Have you ever noticed how your best decisions rarely happen in moments of emotional chaos? They arrive after you've calmed down, after you've slept, after you've reflected. That's because wisdom requires space. Emotion demands speed. One says, "Act now." The other whispers, "Wait." Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that no external event possessed the power to damage his character. Others could insult him. They could misunderstand him. They could even hate him. But unless he surrendered his own judgment, they could never control his inner world. Think about how revolutionary that idea is. If someone insults you and you become furious, who is controlling your emotional state? You are giving another person permission to determine your peace. The Stoics refused to hand over that permission. Their peace was earned through discipline, not dependent upon approval. This doesn't mean they lacked emotion. Far from it. They experienced grief, joy, fear, love, disappointment. But they refused to become slaves to passing feelings. Imagine holding a glass of muddy water. If you keep shaking it, it remains cloudy. If you simply place it down, the dirt slowly settles. The water becomes clear on its own. Your mind works the same way. Many people try to solve emotional problems while emotionally disturbed. The Stoics chose another path. First, become still, then decide. That habit alone can prevent countless mistakes. The truth is, emotional mastery isn't about becoming cold or detached. It's about becoming intentional. There's an enormous difference. A person controlled by emotion reacts. A Stoic responds. A reaction is automatic. A response is chosen. And every meaningful change begins in that tiny space between stimulus and response. That space is invisible, but it contains your freedom. It contains your future. Every successful person you've admired has faced moments when emotions tempted them to quit. Athletes lose championships. Entrepreneurs experience failure. Leaders face criticism. Artists hear rejection. Yet those who rise above others often possess one quality beyond talent. They refuse to let temporary emotions make permanent decisions. The Stoics practice this every single day. Not once, not occasionally, daily. Because emotional mastery isn't achieved through inspiration. It's built through repetition. Just as muscles grow through repeated training, character grows through repeated self-control. Every time you choose patience over anger, you become stronger. Every time you choose understanding over resentment, you become wiser. Every time you choose silence over unnecessary conflict, you become freer, little by little, day after day. This is how ordinary people become extraordinary, not through dramatic moments, through invisible victories that no one else ever sees. And perhaps the greatest battle you'll ever fight isn't against another person. It's against a version of yourself that believes every emotion deserves obedience. Because it doesn't. You are not your anger. You are not your fear. You are not your anxiety. You are the observer capable of choosing whether those emotions deserve action. That realization changes everything. Once you understand that emotions are visitors, not rulers, you begin reclaiming your life. You stop asking, how do I stop feeling? And instead ask, how do I respond wisely to what I feel? That single shift is where Stoicism truly begins. Imagine waking up tomorrow with one extraordinary ability, not the power to read minds, not unlimited wealth, not fame or influence, but the ability to remain completely calm regardless of what happens around you. Someone insults you, you remain composed. A plan falls apart. You adjust without panic. Bad news arrives. You face it with clarity instead of fear. How different would your life become? Most people spend years trying to change the world around them, believing that peace will come once everything goes according to plan. They think they'll finally be happy when they earn more money, meet the right person, gain more respect, or eliminate every obstacle. But the Stoics knew this approach was doomed from the beginning, because life has never promised certainty. There will always be delays, unexpected losses, misunderstandings, people who disappoint you, circumstances beyond your control. If your peace depends on everything going your way, then your peace will always be fragile. The Stoics built something stronger. They built peace that existed even in uncertainty. And it all began with one simple realization. You cannot control what happens. You can control how you respond. At first, that sounds obvious, but very few people actually live by it. Think about the last time something upset you. Perhaps someone criticized your work. Maybe traffic made you late. A friend ignored your message. Or something you planned for weeks suddenly collapsed. What was your first instinct? Most likely it wasn't a pause. It was to react. The mind immediately searched for someone or something to blame. This is exactly what the Stoics warned against. Epictetus, who began life as a slave, understood this better than almost anyone. He had almost no control over his external circumstances. He couldn't choose where he lived. He couldn't choose how people treated him. Yet he became one of history's greatest teachers because he discovered that no one could enslave his mind without his permission. He taught that some things belong to us, and some things do not. Our thoughts, our choices, our actions, these belong to us. Other people's opinions, their behavior, the weather, the economy, the past, the future, these do not. Most suffering begins when we confuse the two. We waste enormous amounts of energy trying to manage things that were never ours to control. Imagine holding a rope tied to a wild horse. The harder you pull, the more exhausted you become. Eventually, you realize the horse isn't yours. Why keep fighting? Many people spend their entire lives wrestling with imaginary ropes, trying to force people to understand them, trying to make everyone like them, try and prevent every mistake, try and predict every outcome. The Stoics simply let go, not because they stopped caring, because they started caring about the right things. This is emotional intelligence in its purest form, not suppressing emotion, directing your energy wisely. Marcus Aurelius practiced this constantly. Whenever something unpleasant happened, he would remind himself that the event itself wasn't attacking him. His opinion about the event created the suffering. Think about that carefully. Rain isn't bad. Missing an important event because of the rain feels bad. Failure isn't always devastating. The meaning we attach to failure creates the pain. Criticism isn't automatically harmful. Our interpretation determines whether it wounds us. The Stoics believe that events are neutral until we assign them meaning. This doesn't mean difficult experiences aren't painful. Losing someone you love hurts. Facing illness hurts. Experiencing betrayal hurts. Stoicism never asks us to deny reality. Instead, it teaches us not to add unnecessary suffering on top of unavoidable pain. There's a difference between saying, "This situation is difficult," and saying, "My life is ruined." One statement observes reality. The other creates despair. Your inner dialogue shapes your emotional world more than you realize. Most people never notice how they speak to themselves. After making one mistake, they say, "I'm such an idiot." After rejection, they conclude, "I'll never be enough." After failure, they believe everything is over. Would you ever speak that way to someone you truly loved? Probably not. Yet many people repeat those words to themselves every day. The Stoics recognize that the mind becomes what it repeatedly hears. Every thought plants a seed. Repeated often enough, it becomes belief. Belief becomes action. Action becomes character. Character becomes destiny. That's why emotional mastery begins with mental discipline. Not every thought deserves your trust. Imagine sitting beside a busy highway. Thousands of cars pass by. Do you chase every single one? Of course not. You simply watch them pass. Thoughts are the same. Not every anxious thought is true. Not every angry thought deserves action. Not every fearful thought predicts the future. The wise observe without immediately believing. This is one of the hardest skills to develop because the human brain evolved to react quickly. Thousands of years ago, immediate reactions often meant survival. But today's threats are different. Most of us aren't running from wild animals. We're reacting to emails, comments, opinions, notifications, small inconveniences that our minds treat like emergencies. Your heart races, your breathing changes, stress hormones flood your body, all because someone left a rude comment online. The Stoics would ask, is this truly dangerous, or does it merely feel uncomfortable? That question alone can dissolve enormous amounts of unnecessary stress. Because discomfort is not danger. Embarrassment is not destruction. Criticism is not catastrophe. Failure is not the end. The mind exaggerates. Wisdom corrects it. Seneca once observed that we suffer more in imagination than in reality. How often have you feared something for weeks, only to discover it wasn't nearly as terrible as you expected? Maybe it was an important conversation, an interview, a presentation. The anticipation hurt far more than the event itself. The Stoics understood that fear often borrows its power from uncertainty. So instead of avoiding fear, they examined it. They asked, what exactly am I afraid of? Not vague anxiety, specific reality. Most fears become much smaller when forced into the light. Imagine walking through your home at night. You notice a strange shadow. Immediately your imagination creates terrifying possibilities. Only when you turn on the light do you realize it's just a chair. Darkness empowered the illusion. Awareness destroyed it. Your emotions work exactly the same way. The less clearly you examine them, the more powerful they appear. The more honestly you investigate them, the weaker they become. This is why journaling became such an important Stoic practice. Marcus Aurelius wasn't writing for publication. His journal, which became Meditations, was a private conversation with himself. Each page was an opportunity to challenge emotional thinking, to remind himself of what truly mattered, to return his attention to reason. Imagine ending each day by asking yourself 3 simple questions. Where did my emotions control me today? Where did I remain calm? What can I improve tomorrow? No guilt, no shame, only honest reflection. That is how emotional strength is built, not through perfection, through awareness. Another Stoic practice that transformed lives was negative visualization. At first, it sounds pessimistic. It isn't. Instead of assuming everything will always go well, the Stoics occasionally imagined setbacks before they happened. Why? Not to become fearful, to become prepared. Imagine leaving your house each morning, expecting that someone might criticize you. Someone may disagree with you. Traffic may delay you. Plans might change. Now, when these things happen, they no longer shock you. You expected them. Prepared minds remain calm where surprised minds panic. It's similar to carrying an umbrella, because rain is possible. You aren't wishing for rain. You're simply refusing to let it ruin your day. Preparation weakens emotional chaos. Surprise strengthens it. This is why Marcus Aurelius reminded himself each morning, today I may encounter selfishness, arrogance, dishonesty, jealousy, ignorance, not because he hated people, because expecting human imperfection prevented unnecessary disappointment. One of the greatest sources of emotional suffering is unrealistic expectations. We expect perfect relationships, perfect careers, perfect health, perfect timing, perfect people. Reality owes us none of these. The Stoics encourage replacing expectation with appreciation. Instead of demanding that life be easy, be grateful whenever life is peaceful. Instead of expecting constant success, appreciate every opportunity to grow. Gratitude doesn't eliminate hardship. It changes your relationship with it. Suddenly, what once seemed unbearable becomes manageable. Another secret the Stoics understood was the incredible power of slowing down. Strong emotions create urgency. They whisper, reply immediately, defend yourself, get even, don't let this go. Wisdom whispers something else. Wait. Sometimes the strongest move is doing nothing. Not forever, just until emotion loses its grip. How many arguments could have been avoided if people waited 1 hour before responding? How many relationships would still exist? How many careers would have been saved? Patience isn't weakness. It's disciplined strength. Anyone can react. Very few can remain composed. This is why emotional mastery is so rare. It demands something most people refuse to practice: self-restraint. Not because you're powerless, because you're powerful enough to choose. Picture an experienced archer. Before releasing the arrow, they don't rush. They steady their breathing, focus their attention, control their movements. Only then do they let go. Your words should be no different. Once spoken, they cannot return. The Stoics believe that a disciplined tongue protects a disciplined life. By now, you may be realizing something surprising. Emotional mastery isn't about becoming emotionless. It's about becoming less predictable. People know exactly how to manipulate someone whose emotions control them. Praise them, and they become dependent. Insult them, and they become angry. Ignore them, and they become desperate. But the person who has mastered themselves cannot be easily controlled. Their decisions come from principles, not impulses. Their confidence comes from character, not compliments. Their peace comes from within, not from circumstances. That is true freedom, and it is available to anyone willing to practice. Because no one is born emotionally unshakable. It is built, choice by choice, moment by moment, day after day. Imagine two people standing in the same storm. The wind is fierce. Rain falls relentlessly. Thunder echoes across the sky. One person panics. They curse the weather, complain about their luck, and desperately search for someone to blame. Every gust of wind feels like proof that life is against them. The other person gets wet too. They feel the same cold rain. They hear the same thunder. But instead of wasting energy fighting the storm, they focus on each step forward. By the end of the journey, both have faced the same conditions. Only one has been defeated by them. This is the difference between living emotionally and living stoically. The Stoics never promise a life without storms. They promise that you could become the kind of person who remains steady within them. But this strength doesn't appear overnight. Just as a blacksmith forges steel through repeated heat and pressure, emotional resilience is shaped through daily habits. Every challenge becomes another opportunity to strengthen your character if you respond wisely. The question is not whether difficulties will come. The question is whether you are preparing for them every single day. The Stoics understood that extraordinary composure is built through ordinary routines. Let's begin with the first habit. Habit 1. Guard your morning before the world invades it. How do most people begin their day? They reach for their phone before they even leave bed. Within minutes, they're reading alarming headlines, comparing themselves to strangers on social media, responding to stressful messages, or worrying about problems that haven't even happened yet. Before the day has truly begun, their emotional state is already being controlled by the outside world. Marcus Aurelius chose a different beginning. Before facing soldiers, politicians, or difficult decisions, he first prepared his own mind. He reminded himself of his values. He reflected on the kind of person he wanted to become. He strengthened his inner world before entering the outer one. Imagine how different your day would feel if the first voice you listened to wasn't the internet, but your own reason. Spend 5 minutes in silence. Ask yourself, what kind of person do I want to be today? Not what do you want to achieve. Not what do you want to own. Who do you want to become? Patient? Calm? Disciplined? Kind? Courageous? Your identity shapes your actions far more than your goals do. Habit 2. Pause before every important reaction. Here's a simple truth. Very few mistakes happen because we pause too long. Most happen because we reacted too quickly. A disrespectful comment, an unexpected setback, a frustrating email, an unfair accusation. These moments feel urgent. Your emotions scream, respond now. But the Stoics trained themselves to create a small space between feeling and action. That tiny pause changes everything. Imagine someone throws a lit match toward you. Do you catch it? Of course not. You let it fall harmlessly to the ground. Harsh words are often the same. They only burn you if you grab hold of them. The next time someone provokes you, don't ask, how should I respond? Instead ask, does this situation deserve my peace? That question alone has the power to stop countless arguments before they begin. The strongest person isn't the quickest to speak. It's the one who knows when silence is more powerful than words. Habit 3. Become comfortable with discomfort. Modern life teaches us to avoid discomfort whenever possible. Feeling bored? Pick up your phone. Feeling lonely? Seek constant distraction. Feeling anxious? Escape into entertainment. Feeling challenged? Quit and find something easier. The Stoics believe this habit quietly weakens a mind, because every time you run from discomfort, discomfort becomes more frightening. Growth lives on the other side of temporary discomfort. Imagine lifting weights at the gym. The resistance isn't harming the muscle, it's strengthening it. Your emotions work exactly the same way. Every difficult conversation, every moment of self-discipline, every challenge you face without running away builds emotional endurance. This doesn't mean seeking suffering for its own sake. It means refusing to let discomfort become your master. A cold morning, an honest apology, a difficult decision. These moments train your character. Each one whispers, you are stronger than you thought. Habit 4. Stop taking everything personally. This may be one of the hardest lessons in Stoicism. Most people believe that everything others do is somehow about them. Someone seems distant. They must dislike me. Someone criticizes you. They're attacking my worth. Someone succeeds. I must be falling behind. But the Stoics understood something liberating. People act according to their own beliefs, fears, experiences, and struggles. Often, their behavior has very little to do with you. Imagine walking past a barking dog. Do you assume the dog hates you personally? No. You recognize it's simply behaving according to its nature. People are often the same. Someone who lashes out may be overwhelmed by stress. Someone who lies may be driven by fear. Someone who insults others may be fighting battles you'll never see. Understanding this doesn't excuse harmful behavior, but it prevents you from carrying unnecessary emotional burdens. Not every arrow fired toward you deserves to be pulled into your heart. Sometimes the wisest response is to recognize that another person's actions reveal more about them than about you. Habit 5. Practice evening reflection. Every evening, the Stoics reviewed their day, not to criticize themselves, to improve themselves. Imagine ending each day by asking 3 questions. Where did I lose control today? Where did I remain calm? What will I do differently tomorrow? That's it. No self-hatred. No endless guilt. Just honest observation. Think of a skilled athlete reviewing game footage. They don't watch to feel ashamed. They watch to become better. Life offers the same opportunity. Every mistake becomes a teacher if your ego allows it. Most people repeat the same emotional patterns because they never stop to examine them. Reflection breaks the cycle. Awareness creates change. Habit 6. Protect your attention. Your attention is one of the most valuable things you own. Where your attention goes, your emotional energy follows. Yet today, countless companies compete to capture it every second. Notifications, breaking news, arguments, videos, advertisements, infinite scrolling. The Stoics would likely ask a simple question. Who is steering your mind? If every notification can interrupt your focus, if every opinion changes your mood, if every headline controls your emotions, then your attention no longer belongs to you. It belongs to everyone else. Imagine your attention as a garden. Whatever you water grows. If you constantly water anger, anger grows. If you constantly water comparison, comparison grows. If you constantly water gratitude, peace grows. Guard your attention carefully, because whatever repeatedly enters your mind eventually shapes your character. Habit 7. Accept that you cannot please everyone. This lesson has freed countless people from unnecessary suffering. No matter how wisely you speak, someone will misunderstand you. No matter how kindly you act, someone will dislike you. No matter how honestly you live, someone will criticize you. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, yet he still faced endless criticism. If an emperor couldn't satisfy everyone, neither can you. Trying to gain universal approval is like trying to catch the wind. The harder you chase it, the more exhausted you become. Instead of asking, do people approve of me? Ask, am I acting according to my values? That question returns your power to where it belongs, inside yourself, because approval is temporary. Character lasts. Habit 8. Remember that everything is temporary. Every emotion tells you the same lie. This feeling will last forever. It won't. Think back to the hardest day of your life. At the time, it probably felt endless. Yet here you are, still standing, still growing, still moving forward. Joy passes, pain passes, success passes, failure passes. Even life itself is temporary. The Stoics reflected on this not to become fearful, but to become grateful. When you truly understand that everything changes, you stop clinging so tightly. You appreciate good moments while they last. You endure difficult moments knowing they won't last forever. Impermanence becomes a source of peace rather than anxiety. The invisible transformation. At first, these habits may seem small. 5 minutes of reflection. 1 deep breath before responding. A moment of silence instead of an argument. Choosing gratitude over complaint. But don't underestimate small actions repeated consistently. A river doesn't carve through rock because of one powerful surge. It does so through steady persistence. Your character forms the same way. Every calm response strengthens your patience. Every disciplined choice strengthens your mind. Every moment you refuse to be ruled by anger, fear, or pride becomes another brick in the foundation of an unshakable life. One day, people may look at you and wonder how you stay so calm. They'll assume you were born that way. They won't see the invisible victories, the conversations you chose not to continue, the insults you refuse to carry, the fears you face instead of avoiding, the habits you practice when no one was watching. That is where emotional mastery is truly built, not in dramatic moments, but in quiet decisions made every single day. And yet, there is one final lesson the Stoics believed separated the merely disciplined from the truly wise. It is a lesson that transforms emotional control into lasting inner freedom. Imagine reaching the end of your life. You look back over every success, every failure, every victory, every disappointment, every person you loved, and every obstacle you overcame. Now ask yourself one question. What truly mattered? Was it every argument you won? Every insult you answered? Every opinion you tried to change? Every person whose approval you chased? Or was it the person you became through all of those experiences? The Stoics believe that when life is over, people will not be remembered for how many times they reacted emotionally. They will be remembered for their character, because character remains when emotions have long faded. This is the final lesson of Stoicism. Your greatest achievement is not controlling the world around you. It is becoming someone the world cannot easily control. That kind of freedom cannot be bought. It cannot be given. It must be earned, one deliberate choice at a time. The strongest person is often the quietest. Have you noticed something interesting? The loudest person in the room often isn't the strongest. The one constantly proving themselves usually isn't the most confident. Real confidence rarely announces itself. It doesn't need to. Think of an ancient oak tree. When the wind blows, it doesn't argue with the storm. It simply remains rooted. It bends when necessary. It stands firm when it must. Its strength comes from deep roots, not loud branches. The Stoics wanted their minds to become like that tree, steady, patient, grounded, not because life stopped testing them, because they had learned to stop panicking every time the wind changed direction. Today, many people mistake emotional intensity for strength, explosive anger, constant outrage, always having the last word, always needing to prove they're right. But these are often signs of a mind that has not yet learned self-command. The person who cannot control themselves is easily controlled by others. Anyone who knows your emotional triggers can influence your behavior. They know exactly what to say to make you angry, exactly what to do to make you anxious, exactly how to steal your peace. The Stoics refuse to hand over that kind of power. Your peace is a responsibility. Many people wait for peace to arrive. They think, when I find the perfect job, when I have more money, when everyone understands me, when life becomes easier, then I'll finally feel at peace. But peace built on circumstances is temporary. The Stoics believe peace is something you practice, not something you discover by accident. Every morning you have a choice. Will you let the world decide your mood, or will you decide the kind of person you intend to be? Every difficult conversation gives you another choice. Will anger make the decision, or will wisdom? Every disappointment asks another question. Will this experience make you bitter, or will it make you better? Life continually offers these choices. Character is simply the accumulation of the answers you give. The hidden cost of uncontrolled emotion. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack. At first, it doesn't seem too difficult. But every day, someone places another stone inside. One stone for every grudge. One for every insult. One for every disappointment. One for every mistake you refuse to forgive. One for every fear you continue carrying. Years pass. Eventually, the weight becomes unbearable. Yet, many people never realize that no one forced them to keep carrying those stones. They simply never put them down. The Stoics believed forgiveness wasn't primarily about the other person. It was about freeing yourself. Resentment feels like holding a burning coal while waiting for someone else to get burned. Meanwhile, your own hand suffers first. This doesn't mean accepting injustice. It means refusing to let yesterday continue poisoning today. Because every minute spent replaying old pain is a minute stolen from the life you could be living now. The courage to let go. Perhaps the hardest emotional skill of all is learning when to let go. Let go of needing everyone to agree with you. Let go of trying to control every outcome. Let go of impossible expectations. Let go of comparing your journey with someone else's. Most suffering doesn't come from life itself. It comes from refusing to release what no longer serves us. Imagine trying to sail across the ocean while your anchor remains buried beneath the water. No matter how powerful the wind becomes, you cannot move forward. Many people live exactly this way. Their future keeps calling, but they're still emotionally anchored to the past. The Stoics would gently remind us, the past cannot be changed. The future cannot be guaranteed. Only this moment truly belongs to you. Protect it. Use it wisely, because today's decisions quietly become tomorrow's destiny. Memento mori, the reminder that gives life meaning. One Stoic practice has survived for thousands of years because of its extraordinary power. The phrase is simple. Memento mori. Remember that you must die. At first, it sounds unsettling, but the Stoics didn't reflect on death to become fearful. They reflected on death to become fully alive. Imagine if you truly understood that today could never be repeated. Would you waste hours arguing online? Would you allow one rude comment to ruin your week? Would you postpone telling someone you love them? Would you keep delaying the dream you've been waiting to pursue? Probably not. The awareness that life is finite changes everything. Suddenly, small annoyances become exactly that. Small. You begin protecting your time, your attention, your relationships, your peace, because you realize these are among the few things that truly matter. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that every day could be his last. Yet instead of making him pessimistic, it made him purposeful. He became more patient, more grateful, more intentional. He understood that every sunrise was a gift rather than a guarantee. Imagine living with that perspective. Every conversation matters. Every act of kindness matters. Every opportunity to choose wisdom over impulse matters. That is how ordinary days become extraordinary lives. The person you are becoming. Take a moment and think about the person you hope to become. Not the car you want, not the house, not the job title. The person. Would that future version of you lose sleep over every criticism? Would they argue over every small disagreement? Would they panic every time life became uncertain? Or would they remain calm, patient, thoughtful, steady? Here's the beautiful truth. That future version isn't created all at once. They're created by today's smallest choices. Every time you pause instead of reacting, you're becoming them. Every time you forgive instead of seeking revenge, you're becoming them. Every time you replace fear with courage, you're becoming them. Character is never built in a single moment. It's carved slowly, just as a sculptor shapes stone, one careful strike at a time. The final lesson. The Stoics never promised that mastering your emotions would eliminate pain. You will still lose people. You will still experience disappointment. You will still encounter failure. You will still face uncertainty. Being Stoic doesn't mean becoming immune to hardship. It means refusing to let hardship define who you are, because there's a profound difference between experiencing emotion and becoming ruled by it. Anger may knock at your door. You don't have to invite it to stay. Fear may whisper in your ear. You don't have to obey it. Sadness may visit your heart. You don't have to believe it will live there forever. Emotions are guests. Wisdom decides how long they remain. And that may be the greatest freedom a human being can ever achieve. A challenge for you. Before you leave this video, I want to leave you with one simple challenge. For the next 7 days, choose just one moment each day when you would normally react emotionally. Maybe it's a frustrating message, a disagreement, a mistake, an unexpected delay. When that moment comes, pause. Take one slow breath. Ask yourself, what would the wisest version of me do right now? Then act from that answer, not from your first impulse. It may feel difficult at first. That's normal. Every master was once a beginner. Every calm mind was once restless. Every disciplined person once struggled with the same emotions you face today. The difference is that they practiced again and again until calm became their habit. Remember this. You cannot always control what life brings to your door, but you can always decide who opens it. That is the heart of Stoicism. Not the absence of emotion, but the presence of wisdom. Not a life without storms, but a mind that knows how to remain steady within them. And when you finally master your emotions before they master you, you'll discover something remarkable. The world around you may never become quieter, but the world within you finally will. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to reflect on which Stoic principle challenged you the most. Was it learning to pause before reacting, letting go of what you can't control, or accepting that peace comes from within? Share your thoughts in the comments. And if you're committed to becoming calmer, wiser, and more resilient each day, don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and join us for more timeless lessons from Stoic philosophy. Until next time, remember, your greatest victory is always the one you win over yourself.